So after the defeat of the Kauravas by Panchal, King Drupada, and then the absolute defeat of Drupada by the Pandavas, everybody in the whole kingdom loved the Pandavas. And I mean, then they started to, I mean, because they were kind of in the background a little bit still in the hearts and minds of the people, because Dhritarashtra was the older one, and he had the son, Duryodhan, and all these things. And but after that whole thing that happened there in Panchala, everybody liked Yudhisthira, and the sway of the people. The thing is that you have to understand at this point is that Dhritarashtra liked being king. And while I'm certain he loved his brother, you know, his brother was the king. Pandu was the one who did all the ruling and the kinging, and so Dhritarashtra didn't, kind of. I'm not saying he was smiling when he died, but he kind of got used to being in charge. And as soon as everyone started shouting out that Yudhisthira should be made the Yuvaraja, which means the king in waiting, more or less. Which basically means that Dhritarashtra is going to get kicked out because he's old, because he's blind, and Yudhisthira would be in charge, and that's what the people wanted. And so, well, Dhritarashtra couldn't handle that, and so now we get to the dark chapter, because actually, Duryodhan. Everyone looks to Duryodhan as the bad guy, but this is one place where it's blatantly Dhritarashtra, and it's real simple. He got he got this guy named Parochan. They built the house of lacquer. It's this black like tar substance, and they filled it with pots of ghee, and it was a death trap. It's a flaming death trap. So there was this place called Varnavatta, which was it's a holy place for Shiva, and so they had him build this place there, and they called it the Palace of Delights. That was the name that they sold it to the Pandavas, and they said, "Oh, there's going to be a Shiva festival, so you should go there. And we built a Palace of Delights for you." So they headed off, and Vidura, he was wise. The Pandavas, Yudhisthira was innocent. He's still young. All of them are still young. They kind of they trust their family, But Vidura is a little wiser, and so he stopped him on the way actually, and he talked to Yudhisthira in this kind of dialogue, which it was like a secret dialogue, and they talked, and no one else understood it, and then they kept on going, and then Vidura left, and then Yudhisthira. Everyone asked Yudhisthira, what did he say, and he said that the place is a trap, and we have to be careful, and he's going to send someone there to help us. So then they went there, and they saw it was the house. It was all lacquered, and then it was filled with pots of ghee, and it was a flaming death trap. And so Parochana was there and was watching them, and it was his job when he got the right signal, he was gonna light the place on fire. So they were kind of staying there, and then miner came. What it was the person said, "Oh, I'm here to dig a well." So he started to dig a well, and actually, he wasn't digging a well, he dug an escape tunnel so that the Pandavas could leave. And so, they're sitting there, and Bhima is just like, he can see right through everything, and he's angry, and he's like, I can't even stand this, and he's just waiting and waiting, and he's like, they couldn't really sleep. They had to take turns, you know what I mean? In the case it was caught on fire, and they could try and get out, but it was a whole situation. I mean, you can imagine you staying in a enemy's home, and they can kill you any minute. It's like, whoa, talking about the stress level. So they had their escape tunnel, but still it was intense. So they're sitting there, they're waiting, they're like, it's getting to be too much, and finally enough was too much. And Bhima, he said, I can't wait for that guy to start the fire. Everybody get in the tunnel, I'm going to start the fire. So he starts the fire, and Parochana, he gets burned. Now, some people say that there's a family. It was a mother and 5 sons, and they went there to stay. Um, I've seen other places where Bhima and the Pandavas, they didn't even know that they were there, and Bhima he had enough, and he just lit the place on fire. And then they left, and all those people died. So everyone thought that the Pandavas had died in the fire because there's the family that had come through. And so Bhima climbed out, and he had his mother and brothers, and he was going through the woods, and Bhima's big. Most people know that, but they don't really realize how big he'd carry Kunti in his arms like a child, and Yudhisthira and Arjuna would hang off of his shoulders, and Nakul and Sahdev gripped onto his thighs, and then he would run, and he'd carry everybody. And they ran, and they got to a river, and then they crossed the river and went deep into the jungle. And that's so the house was lit on fire, and so. But yeah, this really everyone thought the Pandavas were dead at this point, and so Dhritarashtra was relieved, but it's so he's the perpetrator, in this particular story. Um, okay, that's but